You're listening to a Soul One podcast.
Well, this week I'm asking the question, is it a live action remake if the movie's mainly CGI?
That's the question I have about the so-called live action Lion King.
Well, that is definitely not live action. Now, but again, that would be really tough, right? Like, it would be really
I
tough
know.
to have real lions.
I thought that it was going to be real lions like how it used to be. You know, they'd put like peanut butter or whatever in their mouths to make them look like they're talking. And I realized that that probably wasn't great for the animals. But I'm going to be honest with you, Mike. CGI animals do not compare to the real thing. Or at least we talked about this when we talked about Babe a couple weeks ago and how you couldn't tell the difference between the live action and the animatronics. And you told me they don't do animatronics anymore because it's too expensive. I
Mm-hmm.
still would, if it was an animatronic Lion King with like Jim Henson technology, that would have been great. But we're not talking about Lion King today.
No, I saw the How to Train Your Dragon live action remake, which
Dragons
would
aren't real.
would be even more impossible to get live dragons. So it makes more sense that they would do it that way. But one of the things that I don't think, frankly, there's really another way to do it. Like, you're probably just going to have kind of the CGI dragons. Like, there's no other way to do it. The thing is that when you do these kind of live action remakes, my kind of opinion on them is bring something new to the table, show something different that's different than the movie, and then it kind of makes sense why you would do it. Like, the example I give is the Cinderella movie, which
Yeah.
I thought was really well done. They kind of expanded the prince's story a bit, made him a bit of a character, added this kind of side story for him. So it more was about these two people meeting than it was just focused on Cinderella, and it was really well done. And I feel like they've never quite gotten back to that. Now, this is not Disney. This is DreamWorks. Is that? Yeah, I think
DreamWorks.
it's
Yeah, that
DreamWorks.
sounds about right.
Yeah, that sounds right. So,
They have not, as far as I know, they have not yet been bought by the House of Mouse, as far as I know.
as far as you know, but that, of course, could be coming any moment. So yeah, there's really no way to do it, right? Like, there's no other way to do this other
Unless you
than
were gonna go like stop motion or like puppetry animatronics.
like stop motion, puppetry, animatronics. Like, those are the only other routes you have. So I think it makes sense that they would go CGI, which again is fine. But I think, as I will in a few minutes dive into my actual view. I think my kind of whole point of it was, okay, is this really that different than what we already have in How to Train Your Dragon, which is a pretty good movie? Aside from clearly wanting to print money, what was sort of the idea of doing this? Like, what was the point?
That's what Mike, that's my question about these Disney remakes or live action ones. I just don't understand. I guess it's the nostalgia factor. And like you said, they're printing money. I think so. I'm guessing. My guess is if we're talking about like audience projection, like who are they making this movie for?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming it's for people our age who now have children because we grew up with those media things. Like How to Train Your Dragon, I think came out probably when we were in middle school, when we were like of that age. Now we're having kids. So it's like, okay, well, the parents know the IP, but instead of just showing them the original one, let's get them to go to the movies with their kids. That's my hunch. And the same with the Disney movies.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah,
Uh
they figure you can kind of relive that moment with kind of a new audience with the kids of the people who liked it before, which
but it's
makes
weird.
right?
I'd rather show George an animated movie
Right.
than a
Yeah.
live action movie. So that's also
Yeah.
why I'm confused.
And I mean, I will say, whatever it is, that they're doing this for, it's working because the box office was incredible. Like
Oh, okay,
it
there you
had a,
go.
yeah, it had like a really good box office run. So obviously, it's working. I guess How to Train Your Dragon is a very good movie. Spoiler alert: the live action movie is also a very good movie. It's just they are kind
Oh.
of the same.
Oh.
Like they're
I love
just
how
the
it's
same
like
movie.
all my O's were different inflections,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
keep on.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the reaction to this movie. Like
Yeah.
that is
Oh,
really
oh,
what it is. Yeah,
oh.
yeah. So it's interesting, this whole live action remake, because I do think it started out from a pretty promising place where we were getting kind of new things that were being added in. Like even I think was it Beauty and the Beast had a couple new songs
Yeah,
they
horrible.
put in there. Yeah, not good ones. They could have just somehow purchased the rights from their own musical to do it, but whatever. Um, so they were making attempts at the beginning, and now it
There's
felt
no
like
songs
they're
in this one though, right, Mike?
no, this isn't a musical. I mean, it has, I think, has a fantastic soundtrack. Like the original movie itself had one of the, I think, the best soundtracks for an animated movie. But it's all just instrumental music. It's none of it sung.
Right.
So yeah, it's got great music, but it's not a musical. So it is simply just a live action, pretty much shot for shot remake of the cartoon. So like that's the thing. It's as entertaining as that original movie.
Hmm.
Like it's not like it's bad. It's just not anything new or different. I think is kind of the point
Yeah, it's
that I'm trying to
literally, it
make
sounds
here.
like it's literally a toss up like, oh, should I put in the animated version or the live action version?
Yeah,
They're
and
both good.
I guess now you just have that choice. Like,
So who's the I didn't recognize obviously Jay Baruchel, I shouldn't say obviously, but I assume most people are familiar with this movie. Jay Baruchel was the original voice
mhm.
of the lead character. Obviously much too old now to play a live action version of himself.
Yeah,
So I saw a still or a screenshot of the two leads, the boy and the girl. They're supposed to be, I think, teens. No idea who they are.
yeah. So Mason Thames is the plays Jay Baruchel's character. He was in that Black Phone movie I reviewed
Mm,
several years ago
okay.
as like the kid in that.
Right.
I don't know what else he's done. I do recognize him from he was the kid in the Black Phone. Um, as for I think her name is, I'm going to look it up because I'm going to get it wrong. Nico Parker, that's her name. I don't recognize her from anything. So her credits, she's in the Dumbo movie, the live action Dumbo,
Yeah, skipped that
and
one.
must have been at least in one episode of the Last of Us TV show, which I do watch, but I don't remember her from it. So yes, I don't particularly know her, and yeah, Mason Thames I've just seen in the one movie. Gerard Butler reprises his role as the father.
Yeah, that
Um,
checks out. That makes
so he's
sense.
still doing that, and I think so. Nick Frost plays kind of the sort of, I think he's like a stonemason guy. I think Nick Frost, who's like a English comedian actor, I think he also voiced the original movie. Like I think so.
Which Mike, that further that further begs the question, really what's the point of a live action if the cartoon voices are just the actors? Like it sounds
Yeah,
like this was a shot by shot remake with the
yeah.
same
It's
people.
there's a part of you that's like, oh, cool. They're bringing back some of the original cast, and like that's kind of cool to see them in live action. But then it also, I think, in the same sentence, you go, oh, but what's different then? Like,
Yeah.
why is this anything kind of different? And it's so interesting because I feel like that's how I came out of this movie, where I had this weird, almost mixed feeling coming out of it, where it's just like it was entertaining, it was fun. I thought the soundtrack was great. I thought the performances were all fine. Like it was a good movie, but it's the same thing. Do you remember there's a movie I reviewed? This would have been only maybe 2 years ago. And it was the one about, I believe it was about the Harvey Weinstein like whoever first, broke that story
Okay.
from someone.
Yep.
So it was two female reporters in the New York Times.
Yes.
And I said that this movie was basically shot for shot spotlight, but just switched out what they were investigating.
Yeah. I
That's
guess I
it,
shouldn't laugh.
that
Yeah.
is what it was. Like it was
Right?
essentially Spotlight and that movie. I think it was
Yeah.
she said. I think it was the
Hmm.
name of that movie. Are essentially the same movie. So when I reviewed it, I'm like, whichever one I saw first is probably the one I'd like more, and the other one seems like it's copying the other one. Right? Like it felt in the way it was shot, the way it was put together, the music choices, everything felt identical, where it almost felt like, oh, we're watching this next episode of this TV show because everything's the same. And so I remember saying that was my biggest knock against the movie, was I don't think I enjoyed it as much as I would have if Spotlight never existed. And it's
Right.
kind of the same about this movie. I think this How to Train Your Dragon movie would have been just so excellent if the other one never existed. That's sort of my feeling. Even though it was a good movie, I enjoyed myself. It was entertaining. It's of all the many times you and I have talked about all these terrible movies we go to see, this is not one of those movies. Like, it's a good movie, but what's the point? It's sort
Yeah,
of what I came
weird.
out of it. You know
I
what?
just I just I guess it's for the generation who maybe didn't watch the animated one, and now they're just going to rehash, they don't have to make a new story. I'm happy that it was a very excellent film, because I agree with you, Mike. We see so many bad movies and so many bad remakes, reboots, adaptations. It's nice that this is a very good movie, but it does beg the question, why? It's so
Well, it's
weird.
funny. I was thinking, How to Train Your Dragon can't be that old of a movie. I mean, it is 15 years old. So it came
Right.
out in 2010. It's just hard for me to conceive that that's 15 years ago.
I know,
Like,
it
it's
feels
just,
like it came out 2 years ago.
yeah. So to me, it feels like, okay, that was a quick turnaround. But at the end of the day, it's been 15 years. And that does mean the people who liked this movie are probably in their, what, mid to late 20s, early 30s. They might be having kids. It makes some sense. Because I do think How to Train Your Dragon is not. I mean, you little kids, I think, can enjoy it, but I do think it is targeting kind of a more
Preteens.
preteens
Yeah.
audience, right? And I think it does a good job of doing that. So it's just interesting to think a movie is good, feel entertained by it. It did everything it's supposed to do. Its only crime is there's another one that's exactly the same that came out 15 years ago. So why would I watch this?
It's just animated. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
there's also a TV show. So, like, it's not like we're starving for How to Train
And
Your Dragon.
sequels, I think,
Yeah,
right? Like I'm sure there was
definitely.
more than one.
Definitely. There was definitely 2, if not 3. My question for you, Mike, because it sounds like this was a good movie, and even though we're not sure why it was made, at least it was a good effort. What does Toothless look like? Because that's sometimes when things are translated in CGI, even though animation, I guess, is CGI, I just wonder, is the dragon cute still?
Yeah, I mean the dragon looks pretty much the same. The biggest difference between the animation and CGI is like you can do more things to make it look like there's texture
Right.
to like the dragon
The
skin.
scales and stuff.
Yeah, like you can do that, but otherwise, I would say Toothless looks the exact same.
All right, there you go. Because that was the Sonic problem, right? They made him look so weird and then they had to reanimate him.
Yeah,
And I've heard some pushback about Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
yeah, no major Sonic issues that I believe that I saw. Yeah, I think everything looked good. And again, that's the thing. Like in a vacuum, this movie gets a relatively high rating for me because I do think it was well put together. It was well shot. I thought the animation was well done and blended well with kind of the live action stuff. The acting and performances were pretty good. It is a fun and entertaining movie. It just I just can't give it a see it because it's not anything unique and different. It didn't really take any risks. It just sort of recreated the other movie, which again is no small feat. There's a lot of money and time and effort that gets put into this, but it just wasn't anything unique and different, wasn't anything new that just makes you go, well, why did we do this? Like, why would you watch this over the other? So to me, it's a stream it because you should basically be sitting at home saying like, okay, one or the other. Like
Yeah.
you could, whatever is your choice, just make it. The soundtrack's as good as it was the first time around. I thought that all the action sequences were really well done. But yeah, you have to know going into it, it's a shot for shot remake. It's the same movie.
Bizarre. This I just can't wrap my head around these quote unquote live action remakes. I guess with the Lilo and Stitch one, Mike, did you review Lilo and Stitch? I know we talked about it recently because it's in theaters or it was released a couple weeks ago. You didn't review it though, correct?
No, I don't
No,
think I
you
did.
didn't see it. Okay.
No.
So I read a little bit about the movie. It's been getting mixed reviews. Some people really like Some people really like the remake of Lilo and Stitch, and other people are kind of cool to it. But they make a major plot change. So I'm like, okay, that warrants like what you're describing, right? Like they took a narrative risk. Some people like it, some people don't, but at least it's different than the animated version, right?
At least then they're giving it a shot to try to make it different. Yeah, to try to have it stand out. Maybe then, yeah, people may be divided on which version they prefer. Um, but I agree with you. Like, I would say that's a better route to at least go, to try to do something different.
Yeah. I will not be watching the Lilo and Stitch remake, at least
No,
not anytime soon. I really
yeah,
am not the I am not the market for these movies, Mike.
no, and I guess I'm not either. And again, we've had the debate and discussion many a times about target audiences and who's the market and what have you. But I think when a movie fails to even grab its own target audience, then that's where it really, really fails. At least we can say about this How to Train Your Dragon remake, it really got a lot of people out to the theater,
That's
and
good.
certainly that was good. And I haven't. It's not like I do a lot of reading of reviews of movies I'm going to talk about, so I don't really know what the reception was like. But it was certainly, I haven't heard anything overly negative. So I think and I do think the movie can be a fun time. So yeah, I'm not necessarily going to sit here and say it's a bad movie. I just think for me, it's a stream it, because you really have two options. You have to run to the theaters to see this because it's going to be something unique and different that you haven't seen before, when you could just watch it for free at home as the animation. I would say, yeah, just watch the animation. Like, it is the same movie. So you're
Why
not really
not
missing anything.
set it in the same universe but like a different character? You know what I mean? Like it's 10 years before, 10 years after, or it's a side
Mm.
character that wasn't introduced in the animated or the TV show. Like it's just, if you're going to stay in that universe, or just make a new story about dragons. Like kids are going to go see a dragon movie. It doesn't have to be How I Trained Your Dragon. And I don't
Mm.
know. We were beating a dead horse now. I just really can't wrap my head around this formula. It's weird. Should we change gears a little bit and talk about what I watched?
Yeah, let's really shift gears
Yeah, very
for
different.
for this
Very
one. Like, very, very different. So
utterly
yeah,
different. Okay,
talk to
so
us about what you saw.
I watched Trainwreck, The Cult of American Apparel, which is available on Netflix. So, Mark, I didn't realize that Trainwreck is a docuseries through Netflix because many a moons ago, probably 1 year, but it could be as many as 5 because time has no meaning, which reminds me of a funny little story. George has taken to saying, I did that yesterday, but yesterday is his placeholder for anything that happened in the past. It could
Mm.
have been like 6 months ago. Oh, I did that yesterday. So I watched something yesterday, but it could have been 1 year ago. It could have been 5. I watched Trainwreck, the story of Woodstock 99, which was a 3-episode docu-series. So fascinating, Mike. I was obviously alive in 99, but I remember my cousin wanting to go to Woodstock 99. He's much older than I am. And he didn't end up going. But I remember like I was conscious enough to know like the discourse around it, but young enough I didn't remember any of the fallout. So is if you like cultural history, if you like music history, highly recommend this docu-series, 3
Mm.
episodes. I found it utterly fascinating and very good, very well made. So that was like my last my first and my last foray into Trainwreck. I just assumed that was like a one-off docu-series. And then I was on Netflix just browsing, seeing what I was going to review. And I saw that there's many episodes of Trainwreck with different themes. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. There's one about Doug Ford's brother. What's his name? Rob. Is it
Oh,
Rob Ford?
yeah, Rob Ford.
Yeah. So they have an episode about Rob Ford because he had that crack cocaine scandal when he was the mayor of Toronto. They have one now, which just was released this past weekend, called Poop Cruise, which is about Dan said, of course you'd want to watch this. He says you have two wolves inside you. One is a PhD and the other one who wants to watch a documentary about poop cruises. And I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's this show, this podcast. So anyways, that's, I guess this cruise ship gets stranded in the middle of the ocean, and utter chaos ensues. So I'm learning like, oh my gosh, okay, there's so many episodes, and the first one was so well done. And then I saw that they have one called Trainwreck, the Cult of American Apparel.
Interesting.
And I was a huge American Apparel girly, Mike. I would say its peak was exactly when I was sort of the target demographic, or maybe because I started buying American Apparel in high school, but like really was able to like afford it on my own in university, and then like it crashed and burned. So I would say it is in the movie category because I guess it's considered feature length. It's only 50 minutes.
Okay.
Which I thought that format was surprising because the Woodstock 99 was 3 episodes long and this is just 1 episode, but it charts in 50 minutes. It charts the rise and fall of American Apparel, and really it looks at Dev Charney, who created American Apparel. He was the CEO behind it. He's kind of a notorious figure, and he had notorious even like through the whole history of the company, but then near the end faced a lot of lawsuits around sexual harassment and sexual abuse. And he essentially gets ousted from his company. I guess that's a little bit of a spoiler, but if it's a documentary, Mike, is it a spoiler? Also, it was all public record. If you
would say no. Like, I would say documentaries don't really count as spoilers because you can, like, the information is readily available, and it's usually based on something that has happened, and even if it's not like well known, you can get that information
very
so
easily.
I would say there are no spoilers for documentaries.
Right. So and if you were alive at this time and shopping or interested in fashion and whatever, you probably would be aware of, or at least, touched some of these controversies in a roundabout way. So it features a lot of talking heads interviews. So I would say that the documentary is constructed through talking head interviews, which was very similar to the Woodstock documentary I watched a couple of years ago, where the main narrative is told through these interviews. These were former employees of American Apparel. And then there's some archival footage. And I don't even know if there's a narrator. It might all be told through the interviewer's point of view, or the interviewees, I should say. I thought it was endlessly fascinating. I thought it was relatively well crafted. My complaint, Mike, which is very countercultural to what I always say this every week, this documentary could have been longer.
Oh, really?
It could have been a 2-parter, or like at least an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I just thought this story is so interesting. And it's funny, my sister-in-law watched it as well recently. She also liked American Apparel during its heyday, and I said, oh, I felt like it could have been longer, and she went, exactly, like I thought. I got to the end of it and thought, where's the next episode? It just kind of ends a little bit abruptly. Like it is, because it's charting the rise and fall, but the fall is very quick, and so the ending comes very quick. It's kind of like, okay, that's it. I think they could have spent more time explaining the CEO better, like giving us a little bit of his biography. I really would have been interested to see what the talking head people are doing now. So, and I'm pretty sure they did that with the Woodstock one, but I could be wrong. And like someone's this happens in movies, but definitely in documentaries where the interviewers or the interviewees, sorry, are talking about a specific time in history, and then the end credits will tell you like, and now what they're doing, right? So I would
Mm.
have found it the people who were interviewed joined the company when they were like very fresh, like early 20s, and now it's about, oh gosh, I guess it's about a decade now since the company went bankrupt, in and around about a decade. So these people are actually pretty close to our age, Mike, that are being interviewed. So
Mm.
I would love to know, like, are they still working in fashion? Where did they land on their feet afterwards? Like, they were the people they chose to interview were quite interesting in their own right. So I would have been interested to see what's their story afterwards. And I also would have liked them to untangle a little bit of I think I'm saying his name right, Dove Charney, his legacy. Because apparently, like at the end, they just dropped this like, to me, a nuclear bomb, being like, and now he works with Kanye West. And it's like, what?
Mm.
Where did that
Mm.
come from?
Right.
Like
You
that's
feel
the
like you're missing a piece of
yeah, that was
information.
like the last sentence of the documentary. And so you're like, okay, like where's episode 2 about how we ended up with Kanye? So that's my major problem with this documentary was that I found it so fascinating and well crafted that I could have spent another half an hour, if not another 50 minutes. And I
Yeah.
think there was enough content there, like there's enough story there that they could have done that easily. So I found that interesting. I'll have to go into Netflix and see the other quote unquote episodes or the other installments to see how they vary. Like, are they always 50 minutes now, or some 2-parters, some 3-parters? Like, that would be interesting to know how Netflix is producing these. I assume it's Netflix that's producing them. Yeah, I just people longtime listeners of the show know I love a good documentary, and I especially love a documentary, a cultural history documentary that gives you a snapshot of a particular time and place. And this is what this documentary does. It's giving you a snapshot of a very uh it's a very specific company in a specific time with specific people, and that company might not have existed 10 years earlier, and it's not really existing now, even though technically Dove Charney still does run a company that's kind of the carbon copy of American Apparel, but it hasn't nearly had the impact that American Apparel has had. So if you're interested in those things, that's I find reviewing documentaries a little bit tricky because not if someone's not interested in the subject matter, they might, even if it's a really well-made documentary, they're probably going to skip it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I feel like it is such a. I mean, I was about to say it's such a personal thing, but I mean, I guess you could say that about all movies and stuff. But I think
Right.
when you have a narrative that is either fictional or you're kind of doing a more narrative structure, you can win people over with other elements. Whereas a documentary, I feel like you're right. Like you have to connect to the subject matter, or otherwise there's nothing else. Like it's not the cinematography that's going to get you.
No.
It's not, the soundtrack. It's not performances. It's not like some fantastical element or great shots or great moments. Like or even like humor for that matter. It's really just you like the subject matter or you don't.
Yeah. I think the sometimes if it's like if it's a feature length documentary, I think of the documentary and I forget the name of it. It was about the triplets that were separated at birth.
Oh, right, yeah.
This was like pre-pandemic. I saw it in the screening room, and it was almost like it was filmed and constructed almost like a mystery. I think there are certain documentaries, Mike, where the way that they're constructed or like the story is just so compelling that it like transcends the subject matter. You know what I mean? Like anyone can watch it. Like I think of that documentary about the triplets being separated at birth. I would recommend that documentary to anyone.
Mm.
Um, but that's like top tier. Same with like I think you probably felt the same way about the documentary you reviewed about the concentration camp.
Right.
That
Yes. The one that paired quite well with
Yeah.
that other movie. Yeah. Yeah.
And so, like, again, like, that probably transcends subject matter just because it was so interested. This documentary is so niche and, like, so particular. I don't know if, like, a 65-year-old dad who's, like, into, like, tinkering with his car on the weekend would necessarily be interested in this because it's literally about, like, a millennial fashion company that really captured the zeitgeist of a certain time and place. But maybe not. Maybe they're interested in the dad, the 65-year-old dad who tinkers with his car is interested in cultural zeitgeist documentaries. So who am I to say? So all that to say, to me, this is a see it. I am very close to the subject matter because it was a company that I spent a lot of money at. And I think it did capture a certain feeling, a certain cultural time and place.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that literally like was my coming of age.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it's a see it. I think having seen Woodstock 99 and having seen this one, I think I am gonna go back and watch maybe not all the installments of Trainwreck, but certainly the ones that capture my interest, like the Poop Cruise. And maybe I'll watch the one about Rob Ford because that's pretty fascinating that they made one about our Toronto mayor. But yeah, I think it's a docuseries that's worth checking out, even if you kind of cherry pick the topics that you're more interested in.
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. And the fact that there's some options here, right? Like you've got,
Mhm.
it sounds like it's pretty diverse about types of topics. Like they're not just kind of sticking to like one particular genre or reason to kind of have the docuseries, which is kind of cool. So that does mean that might keep you coming back for more jumping around a bit to like only watch the episodes that you might like yourself,
Cool.
which is nice. Cool. All right. Well, there you go. That's your docuseries and How to Train Your Dragon live action remake. It's an interesting time, Taylor, because I'll be heading out to see Superman this week. That'll be my
Mm.
review for next week, and then we've also got the Fantastic Four coming up. So summer movie season kind of is in full swing for me in terms of the next couple weeks are pretty much dominated by superhero movies. So it's kind of been a slow start, I found, to the summer movie season, but How to Train Your Dragon really kicked things off with a crazy good box office. So we'll see.
July, we're in the first or I guess the second week of July now. To me, this is like truly summer. The kids are out of school.
Oh yeah.
And Mike, you're graciously letting us keep this a short episode because
Mhm.
my dear George is very, very sick and needs his mama. So thank you for that. But I do want to say one thing. Maybe it's a controversial thing.
Okay.
I saw a clip of the new Superman movie. We've been watching we've been watching on repeat since George got sick. Hockey clips,
Mhm.
hockey
Of
compilation clips on YouTube. That is his favorite thing.
course.
We try to limit it, but because he's sick, it's like 24 hours at our house. And so on YouTube, because we put YouTube through our TV, we get commercials. And I'm pretty sure there's a trailer for Superman. It did not look good, Mike.
Yeah,
It looks kind of corny.
I'm not too sure what to expect. I don't think James Gunn is necessarily the right person to write or direct this movie. Um, I'm really interested to see what happens with this. I mean, after Man of Steel, I can't think it could get much worse than that. But yeah, I'm a big Superman fan. I'm not hugely optimistic. And next week, everyone will hear my review because probably while you're listening to this episode, I'm probably watching Superman because
Crying.
I'm going to the Thursday preview. So I'm probably there as you're listening to this. So yeah, next week you're going to get my review for it. Is Taylor right? We'll find out next week.
And I want to just edit myself. Corny is not
Oh,
the right
yeah.
word. Maybe bland. Like I don't know. It just didn't look that
Hmm.
appetizing. But anyways, I hear my baby yelling, so I
Yes.
probably should go down and comfort him. So until we meet again, go see some movies.
Thank you for listening to You Had Me at Skip It, a Soul One Arts Inc. podcast. This podcast is produced by Mike Shepard and Austin Spinner Summer. It is a project of Soul One Arts Inc. To learn more about Soul One and all the great work that Soul One is doing in the arts community, especially in film, theater, and other performing arts, visit soulonearts.ca. You can contribute to this podcast by visiting soul1arts.ca and going to the podcast tab. You'll find all the information on You Have Me at Skip It and how you can get your questions read on air each week. Thank you again for listening.